Welcome to the fourth video of the holiday program on the history of Alfons Zeileis. In the first video, we looked at the psychology of crowds, in the second, at the theory of power, and in the third, at anti-Semitism. In this final episode of the holiday program, we look at the topic of fascism. The term fascism was originally used in the 1920s to describe the political movement led by Benito Mussolini in Italy. The term is derived from the Italian word fascio, which means alliance. In terms of content, the term says nothing about the cause. The Italian fighting federations, the Fasci Italiani di Combattimento, were founded on 23rd of March 1919. They were transformed into the Partito Nazionale Fascista, the National Fascist Party, in 1921. Italian fascism was not anti-Semitic, at least not initially. Mussolini publicly rejected the racism and anti-Semitism of the National Socialists in the German Reich. The term fascism was not used uniformly back then, nor is it used uniformly today. In the 1920s, the term was used for all ultra-nationalist, anti-democratic movements organized according to the leader principle. The term was also used for the National Socialists, usually with a negative tone. Fascist is simply much crisper to say and write than the unwieldy term National Socialism or even National Socialist German Labour Party. Until 1945, movements that established a regime labeled as a fascist existed in Italy, Germany, Romania, Croatia, Spain, and Hungary. After 1945, the term fascism was used by real socialist Eastern Europe not only for National Socialism, but also for every anti-communist and even social democratic movement. The word National Socialism was avoided at all costs by real socialist Eastern Europe. After all, the ruling party cadres were socialists. Left-wingers in the Federal Republic used the term as an insult for everything that was conservative or at least not left-wing. The fascism theories that emerged from the 1990s onwards are interesting for the history of Alfons Zeileis. Emilio Gentile developed a definition of fascism during this period. This includes the leader principle, the claim to totality, a party organization oriented towards the military, an irrational secular substitute religion based on myths, rites and symbols, as well as a totalitarian understanding of the state, with which the organic mystical unity of the nation is to be achieved, including ethnically. Enemies of the regime or races labeled as inferior are excluded. Today, looking back, it is easy to study the similarities between these movements. In Alfons Zeileis' story, we will look at many of the elements that characterized the National Socialist dictatorship. Personally, I find the term fascism too vague. I will only use it in contemporary quotations when it appears there. Max Weber and Hannah Arendt are much closer to me. When we go through the period of National Socialism with the Zeileis family, I am particularly interested in the structures that the National Socialists used and utilized in the Palatinate to enforce the relationship of rule with command and obedience described by Max Weber. I am also interested in Weber's obedience motives of the ruled, the Zeileis family and their environment. What particularly interests me about Hannah Arendt is how total domination has a very concrete effect in the Palatinate. Her approach is particularly relevant for me when it comes to guilt. Hannah Arendt therefore decided to see Eichmann as guilty of the murder of over 6 million people because he could have decided otherwise. It is easy to look back and say, we should have known. If you want to prevent something similar from happening again, you have to put yourself in that time and try to understand what people experienced back then. For me, the question is, what decisions do the people we accompany through the period of National Socialism make? What was their motivation? What choices did they have? What guilt do they take upon themselves? What were the consequences of choosing one of the possible options? Were these foreseeable for the person? This episode marks the end of the summer holiday program. The next video will continue with the story of the Zeileis family.